morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. I hope you guys are well and I hope everything is going swimmingly. Everything is fine and dandy here. Thanks for asking. Today we're going to do a video from a sample of a recent release from Dior that's creating quite a stir, and that is Sauvage Elixir. Now, there's been an awful lot of hype about it almost overnight. You know, Facebook groups are full of people talking about it and praising it and disliking it and whatever. So I thought I'd give you my take on it, not to be controversial or, you know, anything like that. I just thought I'd give you my thoughts. You know, I'll try it and give you my thoughts on it and give it to you straight, like a pear cider made from 100% pear. So I've had a bottle of Sauvage EDT way back. I'm kind of over it, to be honest. I'm not that massive a fan of the way the perfume smells anymore. I did like it when I was a bit younger. I mean, it came out in 2015, the EDT, so it's been around for quite a long time. So, and because of that, there's quite a few versions of it. So if you have, in one corner of the room, you have the EDT, the EDP, and the Parfum. I find that corner of the room completely unworkable. And then if you have, in the other corner of the room, the Elixir, is that corner of the room going to be workable for me? Well, what we'll do is, I've got the sample with me, so I'm actually wearing it at the moment, but I'll spray a little bit more of the sample, and then we'll have a look at the notes, we'll break it down and talk about how it wears and what I think of it. I will say though, I've tried it 3 times now in department stores, and the last one was one in Wimbledon, and a fantastic shop assistant there, really passionate about Dior, and knew quite a lot about the perfume. And she did say that the Elixir is the most concentrated perfume that Dior have made. Now, I don't know if there's any truth to that. It certainly seems like a concentrated perfume, but whether it's the most concentrated perfume Dior have ever made, I don't know. I've not done any research on it, and maybe I should have. But that's the, you know, the message I got from the sales assistant. So what we'll do now is we'll have another little spray from my carded sample, and this is obviously an interesting one because this carded sample came from a department store, and normally department store sales assistants guard carded samples like they're their own. They don't normally give them out, especially as I made it very clear that I wasn't going to be purchasing anything, but it was nice of her to give me the sample, so we're going to use that for the purposes of the review. Okay, so while we let that settle down, we will have a look at the notes. So the notes are as follows. On the top we have cinnamon, we have cardamom, we have nutmeg, and we have grapefruit. And then in the middle we have lavender, more of that later. And then on the base we have sandalwood, we have amber, we have licorice, we have patchouli, and we have Haitian vetiver. So already we can see it's a lot spicier than, say, the others. Now, I don't know if Dior sort of went to the hutch that they keep all the Sauvages in, and there they were, the EDP, the EDT, and the Parfum bouncing around, and thought, we need to add another perfume to that collection. And it's interesting because, I've done no research, but I would imagine Sauvage has been one of the best-selling perfumes that Dior have made. And because of that, they don't want to let it go. And we see this with other brands. I mean, look at the Porsche 911. It's been around forever. You know, the 911 has changed and mutated over the years to become the car it is now, which is miles away from the car it was originally. And I think that's kind of what Dior are doing. But the difference is you cannot go and buy an original Porsche 911, you know, from how it first came out from Porsche. But you can go to Dior and buy the EDT, which is exactly how it came out in 2015. So it's almost like Dior want their cake. They want to add layers to the cake. So, you know, they've constantly got different things to sell, but they're not letting go. They're kind of increasing the size of the collection. They're adding to it. Do we need this many versions of Sauvage? I don't know. Only you, the purchaser, can answer that question. So it's also an expensive perfume as well. It's a 60ml bottle, and that's around £100, which is quite a lot of money. So is it worth it? Well, I don't know. Let's have a look at how it smells. So when it opens, you have the cinnamon and the cardamom and the nutmeg, this spicy combination that does actually work really well. It smells lovely, and it doesn't smell very much like Sauvage at all at this point. You have the citrus is brought to you by grapefruit this time, which again is a note I love. And again, it's kind of on point. Grapefruit's become this incredibly sort of popular and trendy of the moment material that seems to be popping up everywhere. So, you know, Dior are following suit with that. And it's interesting because it's Francois Demonchy who's made this, and I think he's certainly made the EDT. I'm pretty sure he's made all the iterations of Sauvage. So, you know, he knows this perfume inside out. So he's tweaked it and added to it. You know, it's his baby basically. The grapefruit works really, really well with the spices, and it's light and it's bright, but it is got this heavier undertone. And when it starts to get interesting for me is when the lavender comes charging in the middle. And the lavender for me is the dominant note for the life of this perfume once it arrives. It's smooth, it's very sophisticated, and what they've done is they've created a Sauvage that's grown up. This is Sauvage in a suit. You know, if you look at the EDT, there's this lager drinking hooligan running around the pub screaming its head off. What we have now is a much more refined, more well-dressed, smart, you know, he's having a glass of wine. He's not running around shucking Stella down his neck. It's that kind of grown-upness that I appreciate from this perfume. The lavender becomes, as I say, the most prominent note. And then you get this licorice sweetness. And to be fair, in the base, you really pick out the licorice note. But it kind of is always present, to me anyway. The sweetness from the licorice is like this sweet spine down the back of the perfume. And it works very, very well. It's an interesting perfume in terms of performance as well, because it's a very long-lasting perfume, but it's quite intense. So I think a lot of people will go nose blind to it. So, you know, if people are complaining about, you know, about performance from this, I think it's more than likely going to be down to their noses going blind to the perfume than the perfume struggling to perform, because it is a very long-lasting perfume and it is very oily. So this whole thing about the concentration, I believe, may be spot on, because it does feel like a really, really concentrated perfume. Performance-wise, Elixir is excellent. It has a real presence about it when it hits your skin. It doesn't, I don't know, I've heard people saying it's a room filler. I don't think it is. I've got a lot of perfumes that are room fillers, and this I don't think is one. But it does have very good projection. It has an excellent sillage, and it does seem to last a very, very long time. After a couple of hours or so, it calms right down and sits above your skin for quite a long time. You will notice it. I mean, if you went out in the morning, came home in the evening, you would still smell it on you, no problem at all. And I think if you got it on clothes, it would stay on clothes forever, because it is such a heavy and thick liquid. So performance-wise, no gripes at all. It's not as loud as the EDT, it's not as screechy, and because of the, you know, the way they've used lavender in this, it's smooth out. You know, so it comes across as a sophisticated perfume. It's very well made. It's incredibly smooth to wear, and it's not screeching and overly loud or anything like that. Long lasting, with good projection to start off with, and a really nice sillage that kind of follows you around everywhere. It would be a good perfume to wear in the office, and it would be a good one for social occasions. Nice one to pop down the pub wearing kind of thing. No one's going to be offended by it, all right? So it's not unpleasant at all. It's, you know, it's quite an interesting fragrance, and, you know, if you're wearing it and someone was to smell you, you would smell nice, you'd smell clean, you'd smell interesting, you'd smell, dare I say it, quite sophisticated. So in terms of, you know, how it wears, Dior have done a really, really good job of it. It's perfect for that. You know, you can wear it in any environment. I think it'll work all year round. Maybe not in the heat. I think it would be a little too cloying, especially with the opening and all the spices. I don't think it'll work too well on a hot day. On a cold day, it would be awesome. And I think apart from in extremely hot days, you could probably wear it all year round. So, you know, it's a very versatile, good performing perfume. My problem is with it that I love the top, I love the introduction of the lavender, and then it starts to, as other people have quite rightly pointed out, it starts to become something more akin to Drac Noir, but the original and older sort of original versions of Drac Noir. It's like they've taken Drac Noir and updated it, made it modern, made it, you know, more relevant for today, and that works really, really well for quite a long time. And then things start to happen as the perfume dries down. It starts to become more and more and more familiar to the other Sauvage iterations that are out there, and that's where I start to struggle with it. If it stayed on the top and the middle, and the base didn't start reminding me of the others, then I would really, really like this perfume. But because it starts to drift into Sauvage territory, I get a bit bored of it, in all honesty. I think it's a good perfume. I think they've done a good job of it. I think they've done enough to make it more interesting, especially on the top where it doesn't really smell like anything from the collection. So that's excellent. But then it starts to meander towards Sauvage territory, and that's where I kind of lose a bit of interest in it. So what we'll do now is we'll have a look at who can wear it. Well, who can wear it and how successful is it going to be? This is where it all starts to get really, really interesting for me. It's obviously pitched at the more mature fragrance enthusiast, but there's enough sweetness in there for the younger thruster to appreciate it. But if you want the sweet, louder one, you're always going to go for the EDT, which is better at being sweeter and louder than this one. This is certainly more refined. And also you have the cost. Now we're looking at £100 for 60 mil. So we're well into niche territory here. So is this going to appeal to the casual fragrance enthusiast? Is someone going to walk into a department store and smell all of them and pick this one, which is by far the most expensive, over, say, the EDT? I don't know if they will. I think if you're really into your perfume, you'll really, you will know Sauvage inside out. You'd have probably had a bottle of it and you would have probably smelt it. And you'll probably, there's a good chance, a little tired of it. So the EDT is not going to appeal to you, probably not the EDP. I'm not even going to bother talking about the parfum. I didn't really see the point of that. So you are, if you're over it, then you're going to be more interested in the Elixir. I get that. But then you're having a cost issue. For me personally, if I wanted a citrusy lavender-based perfume that's a lot of money, well, I'd obviously always go for Bergamus. Because we are straying not far from Bergamus territory in terms of cost per mil. So they're kind of in a similar world, and I'm always going to go for something that I find a little bit more interesting than Elixir. So I don't know how it's going to sell. I think it may be too expensive for the casual fragrance enthusiast to walk into a department store, pick up, spray and think fantastic. There may be some people out there who will find it and it will remind them quite considerably of Drac Noir, and they may buy it for nostalgia sakes and things like that, and that will work well for them. But how many people are out there looking for a modern take on Drac Noir? I don't know. So it'd be interesting for me to see where it, how successful it is. I think we are already seeing it's massively hyped, and I'm already seeing bottles that have been bought at a relatively good discount now coming up for sale again. So people are turning these bottles quite quickly. So that's never a great sign for a perfume if people are blind buying it and thinking, actually, I don't like that, I'm going to get rid of it. So, we're always going to get there, and hence this review, because I don't think you should blind buy this fragrance at all. Unless you are absolutely besotted with the, Sauvage DNA, then, it's going to be good for you. But it's not good for me. It is a good perfume. It's well made. The quality is there. The presentations are phenomenal. It is expensive. And I think it's just a little bit, I don't know, played out maybe. But, let me know what you think of it. I think it's a good perfume. I'm not saying that it's not, for sure. It's from a personal level, it's not for me. I've got there's better perfumes out there for me to spend £100 on, for sure. So I'm not interested in buying it. If one, if a partial came up, in a couple of months for a really good price, I might get it, purely for the sake. I haven't got any of the Sauvage perfumes in my collection at the moment. And if I did have to go for one, it would be this one. But I don't know. When I said about the corner of the room, the unworkable corner and the unworkable corner, the whole room is unworkable for me, I'm afraid. Even if it came up really cheap as a partial, I don't think I'd buy it, because I don't think I'd ever wear it. The perfume smells good, but I've got more interesting perfumes that I would always pick over this one. So for me, it's a no. But don't let me put you off. It's a good release, definitely, and it is a good perfume. So try and get a sample. And obviously, if department stores are giving me carded samples, then they're out there. So pop into a department store that carries Dior, because they're obviously pushing it quite heavily, so you will be able to get a sample. So don't blind buy it, go and get a sample of it first and then make your own mind up from there. So that's my kind of take on Elixir. A new, interesting, but ultimately maybe a little played out offering from Dior. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Many thanks for your time, and we shall see you on the next one. Cheers, thanks, and bye.